Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and in this video, I'm gonna give my opinion on Winston and why I think he's the most based, fun, and like just cool hero in Overwatch as far as the tank role goes, and why I think the game would be better if he was meta. Alright, well, I was gonna give you an ability, cooldown, rundown, whatever, but I guess I don't get to do that. The game decided against it. But TLDR, for people that don't want to watch this whole video, Winston is the tank who I believe requires the most thinking to most thinking without a sheer insane amount of mechanics like Doomfist, just the most thinking while being a pretty accessible hero that's in the game. And I think that's a good thing. I think tank players should be incentivized to think a little bit more, and this is coming from a Reinhardt player who never thinks. The part of why I play Ryan so much and why he's the character I played to get the GM is because you can get away with not thinking on him. You just do the same thing every single time and it'll work like 80% of the time because people are just inherently stupid. The thing is to succeed with Winston just at the base level, right? We're not talking about his ult. His ult, by the way, his Primal Rage is a very high mechanical skill thing. It's very, very hard to use. I still know how to use it. It's one of the things I've been trying to learn. I don't even play Winston. I never really did. If you look at my all modes I'm played thing, you can see he's way down here somewhere. Alright, Winston's right here, right under Doomfist, Wrecking Ball, like Hanzo, things that I don't really play that much. And then people that know me know I'm not known for those heroes. All my Doom tape time was like Overwatch 1 or like Doom Sumo, like while queuing for stuff. But the thing is with Winston, you have his leap, it's on a very short cooldown, with very high mobility. And then his bubble, which is a very low health bubble that he can use to kind of either protect himself, or the main use is to separate other people, like kind of isolate people. And that's what Winston's specialization is. I thought that was our immort, that was not our immort. But the whole thing with Winston and your whole goal while playing the hero is find the isolate target, find the Zen over here in the back, who doesn't have Mei with him at the moment, and just kind of, abuse them, kill them, do whatever you're able to do to them. And he does that mainly with this left click that does very little damage, but goes through everything, including stuff like, Genji's Deflect. His leap, which lets him get in and out and kind of find those people. Once you recognize that someone's super out of position, you can just go hunt them down with your leaps. And then the bubble is what really lets you isolate them. And it has some health, so you can use it to protect yourself. So you're not just like walking around while doing nothing when you're down your mobility. And it's an option, right? You shouldn't be using it to protect yourself most times. Most good Winstons do not use it like that. They use it to isolate people further. And he's a very high skill hero that is used to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. He hasn't been good for a long time because his burst, while it's pretty solid, right? Because you quick melee as you leap to kind of burst people down like that Mei. His burst is very solid. If you know someone's low health, like he'll still kill them pretty fast, right? It does about 100, like half their health. Right? You basically melee as you're landing, and by landing it cancels the melee animation while still doing it. So you get some really solid damage in. But at the same time, like, you can't play reckless as I am right now. My Winston's not that great. I did do a thing where I got him to like Masters 1 or something on a completely fresh account, solo queue. I have a video every single one of those games, and I still don't think I maybe deserve to be that high. But it just shows, like, I don't know, I mentioned a few times in those videos where it's just like, man, I like every good play with Winston, it's never something like, holy shit, dude, I just shattered 5. It's always just something like, damn, I completely isolated one support after another, one player after another, and dominated these people. And it's not like they couldn't do anything about it. One of the nicer things about Winston, and one of the nice things about any, character that I believe should be meta, is there should feel like there's a lot of counterplay. There's a lot you can do about him. And I do think that is true with Winston. There's so much you can do when this character's fucking you up. One of the easy ones is pick Reaper, but a good Winston will not lose to Reaper because he's mainly focused on isolating targets, finding isolated targets, and kind of leaping around to punish those isolated targets. And there's McCree. For those who haven't watched the video, I don't like McCree. McCree just threw that nade randomly, and I wasn't allowed to engage because of it. I think that's just incredibly stupid, and it happens all the time. Anytime there's a McCree on any team, like, I just watched that happen, like, off cooldown. Just throw it in the direction of the tank, and then he just gets fucked. Winston also has this right-click now that he didn't have in Overwatch 1, which you can use to poke people in situations like this, where it doesn't really make sense to engage. There's not anyone isolated up there. There's no big plays you can make. It basically just gave him a small poking tool, you know. The max damage this thing does when it fully charges after like a second is 50, which is nothing. Gave him a small poking tool so he could do stuff while he's waiting, since he's now the only tank. Before, he used to actually be, you know, he was designed for a game with 2 tanks, and he could have used that fact. You can see right here, I used that bubble both to kind of separate the McCree off on the side there, make it so he couldn't shoot anyone else or do anything else, and to also protect myself from the Baptiste that was just sitting there, you know, wanting to do malicious things against me. Right here, the Sigma's completely separated, can't get healed, and if I, you know, time my well, not time my thing better, but if I position my leap a little bit better, he might have even died to my burst there. But that's kind of the things you're doing on Winston. That's what you should be thinking about, right? Think about how that you can isolate people, how you can kind of abuse their mistakes. And I do like characters like that, where you just abuse enemy mistakes. It's not that your character overpowers them. You know, it's not like you're playing, I don't know, Orisa and the Ryan, and all you're doing is walking at the Ryan, and your abilities beat his abilities, so you just win. When you fuck people up on Winston, it's like, damn, I called this guy out. You know, I basically saw this guy was doing something dumb, and I told him about it. His primal is very mechanically demanding, though. It's closer to, like, almost like the skills that you need for, like, Doomfist. Kind of transition for that. But for just basic success in this character, I mean, look, I got to Masters 1 with those types of primals that get 0 value outside of just kind of keeping me up or whatever. With just those alone, you can actually rise through the ranks. Because this character's a lot more about the whole isolation thing and capitalizing on enemy mistakes than anything else. And it's not like he can't go unpunished either. You've noticed I've died, you know, 3 times already. I've died just about as much as my DPS. It's not like his low cooldown mobility makes him immortal. It's not like his bubbles and stuff make him immortal. It can feel that way when you play against a good Winston, but that's because of the difference in player skill, the difference in kind of thought process about the game. And that's what I really like about this character. I do like... When I'm playing a game, I don't want to feel like I beat you just because I picked the right guy, you know, oh wow, I pressed H at the right time and swapped the insert character here. I want to feel like I just fucked you up, you know. I actually just beasted on you. Maybe that comes from, you know, a lot of my playtime being in fighting games like Smash Bros, where that's pretty much your entire goal. But that's how I want to feel when I play a game, and that's why I also really like Ryan. Even though it's not always true when you're fucking up people on Ryan, he gives you that feeling, man. When you're just walking at people on Ryan, swinging or pinning them off the map or whatever, it just feels like, damn, I am fucking this guy up. But right here, Sigma went too deep. I bubble him off. Unfortunately, we did not have the DPS to kind of finish him off. And then I just back out. Right? That's kind of your whole, that's your, I don't know, gameplay loop on the Winston hero. Find the isolated guy, punish the isolated guy, get him to die, right? Right there, Sigma way too overextended, his team's not there. I leap in, I bubbled off his supports and DPS, so he's basically completely isolated from the rest of the world. And then my team capitalizes, right? He's a team-based tank. Can't do it all on his own. You know, he has some solid-ish burst, he has some decent burst damage, but all his value pretty much is tied, well, first off, to cool primals, like if you do something like that, or like that. I got both supports. I'm very happy with the primal like that, even if it wasn't perfect. A lot of his value though is tied to the thought process behind it. It is not hard to leap in the way I'm leaping. You literally just you press the direction you want to go. If you want to stop in midair, you press S, right? You look and press the movement key where you want to go. If I want to go up and to the left, I jump up and to the left while holding that direction. If I want to leap a little bit lower to get through a doorway, I look a little bit down and I leap like that. Alright, like that's literally all there is to this hero. The mechanics of the base guy that aren't tied to his ultimate, very simple. The only one you really need to kind of learn is to press the melee button as you're landing. It's very essential. I thought he dropped. Yeah. So that was me, right? I get punished for this misplay despite being nanoed. There was a reasonable like thing of me dying there. Would have made a whole lot of sense for me to die the second I fucked up that dive on BAP. And that's how Winston is, right? He has a big hitbox. He doesn't have too much health. 550 is on the lower end as far as DPS go. But you use your isolation tools to isolate, you know, the enemies from their teammates, to isolate yourself from them in the case of using it to protect yourself. And that's kind of your end goal, right? I kind of fucked up there. Instead of leaping out like I should have, I decided to 1v1 the Torb who was near full health, and I get punished for it. I have a big hitbox. I don't have that much health. Even just one guy can fuck me up if I make a misplay. And that's the sign of a balanced character, right? It's not the sign of a balanced character when you just pick the character and someone else picks another character that you just win or lose. It's the sign of a good character and a balanced character and a fun character is one where I mess up and this guy gets to kill me for it, right? There are some things, certain interactions, some heroes. For example, Torb and Reaper, because they do so much point-blank, burst damage, you can get fucked up more by them for making mistakes, which makes them effectively, the counters, quote-unquote, to Winston. But the thing is, a good Winston will prevail against just like a Reaper or Torb or something. Now, I'm not a good Winston, so I don't know how to make it happen, and you're going to see that in this footage. Right here, I just jumped right in the middle of all of their team, and instead of isolating the enemy from the other enemies, I isolated myself from my team, and was also isolated in the middle of all the enemies. So you have to be careful, you can't just jump in, you can't just get away with everything as you can with other characters like Orisa or Ryan, where you just kind of do the thing and it works. You actually have to think, right? I was not thinking there as well, it forced me to waste my ult in the way that I did, and I took so much damage, man. But with his ult, you can also force people, right? The cool thing with his ult is his ult's not built around killing people. It's not built around killing 5 or doing anything like that. It's actually built around using the multiple boots with a lot of mechanics to kind of boot people and force them into a bad position because you have 1,000 health or whatever you get during it, and you're basically either going to be hard focused or immortal. Which, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of his ult, is to boot people into positions to isolate them, to kind of get your win condition in, which I think is really good design for an ult. And that's just cool. And I think it'd be fun if he's meta for that exact reason. He feels really good to play against. He feels really good to lose to, right? When I lose to a Winston, like, unless I guess I'm playing Zarya or something where it's a bit more iffy because he kind of just beats down Zarya even with a brain dead playstyle. But if I lose to a Winston, especially in this day and age where he's at the worst he's ever been, like, I'm just like, damn, that guy was better than me. He positioned better than me. He abused the fuck out of me, right? He positioned better than me. He called me out when I was in a bad place, and he played in a safer way and only dove when it kind of made sense to. Right? When I get fucked up by Winston, I'm like, damn, that guy fucking, he got me, right? Even when I'm like Lucy or something, Winston is actually better against because that left click is auto aim and close range and all that. It can make it a lot easier to just kill Lucio without having to track him. Even then, I'm like, damn, I could have booped that guy when he was leaping at me. There was like so many things you can do against Winston that make it feel that much better or worse. Like it makes it feel like it's your fault. There's very few games in this, very few games, I guess, as well, but very few characters in Overwatch where when you lose to them, you can think like, damn, that guy is just better. Right? Widow is like kind of one of those characters, but on certain maps, there's like actually nothing you can do. Put Widow in Circuit Royale, give someone like Roadhog, you lose. Nothing you can do. Nothing you can do there. There's someone like, I don't know, Alari on that map example. Like, Widow just will outrange you, just beat you in one way or another. There is no situation I can really think of outside of, like I said, maybe Zarya, where it feels like, damn, this guy's winning because he's Winston. It's like, no, this guy's winning because he's better than me. And that's what I really like about Winston. I think if the game's overall balance was brought down to his level, and he was the meta tank at high levels, I think it'd be great. Another thing I've also said, despite being a Ryan main, he being my most played character now by a wide margin, he's the character I can consistently get to GM with. I will always say, I do not think this game is in a good place if Ryan is the meta hero. I don't think he should be. I think he should always be really solid. I think he should always be a good option. But because he's so brainless and requires so little from you as a tank, such little thought, such little effort to kind of perform, I don't think he should be meta. I think a meta tank should be like kind of how it was in Overwatch 1. Right? A team leader, some guy outthinking other people, some guy playing better than other people, and kind of playing with his team and bringing them up to make you beat the other team, right? And a lot of things like Orisa just don't, they don't give that feeling. Digma can give that feeling sometimes. Winston and Bull 100% do. Doomfist 100% does. Diva, as much as I hate her, she also kind of gives that feeling, right? You do not get that feeling with most characters that aren't Dive. Dive, I think, is like the highest skill meta there is. And generally in low elo, it's not really played because it requires some level of coordination and some level of team effort that is lacking at a lot of lower elos. And yeah, that's like the end of my rant. That's why I think Winston, unironically, probably the most fun tank, and the one I wish was meta the most. I think if we lived in any character's perpetual meta, I think it should be Winston, for all the reasons I just talked about for the last like 15 minutes. You know, this is just me talking about a character I really like, despite having very low playtime on him, and I think also a low win rate. Like, I'm not the best Winston. I like the character a lot, and I just talked about how much skill he takes and how much brain power he takes, but like I said, I don't have it. I got a 49% win rate, right? I'm not net even. I'm at a net loss with this character. And you might be like, 1%'s not that much, but when you look around and you look at my other, low win rate characters, it's like, well, these are characters I kind of, except Ana. I don't know why Ana's down here, but stuff like Brig, I'm just straight up bad at the character, right? And that's kind of where Winston falls into. Like, I'm bad at the character, but I respect the hell out of a good Winston. And I think it's just not talked about enough. I think so many people enjoy the simplicity and just like raw fun you can have with Ryan, but they don't appreciate the higher, higher level thinking that goes into kind of dominating on Winston in any capacity, especially in modern, more damage and healing focused metas, where having a lot more health to sustain or a lot more damage to deal will make you better tank. Winston just gets that much worse, because outside of that quick burst of like maybe like a right click melee and landing on someone to do like, I think it's 130 or something, right? Winston does not have anything really beyond that burst. Everything else he has is like small poke damage. Right? He's all about isolating people, catching their mistakes, and capitalizing on that. And I think that's what makes him such a great tank. With that being said, leave any comments below if you're curious about anything, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.